huge Super Bowl party. Let's get this thing going. Brought to you by mybookie.ag. Use that promo code next round to double your initial deposit. All right, LT, look, today's the big game. You're a big Super Bowl guy. Super Bowl 59, which still blows me away, man. I used to have that book. You remember the Super Bowl book?
Oh, yeah.
Like
And I don't know your first Super Bowl you watched. So my first Super Bowl was when I became a Rams fan. So this was, my God, this is going to date me. So this is January of 1980. So the 1979 Super Bowl season and that's when Pittsburgh was kind of on the end of their dynasty, but they played a 9-7 Rams team that, weird regular season where they lose their starting quarterback in Pat Hayden. Vince Ferragamo actually takes over, goes on this miraculous little journey where the defense was dominant. And they end up losing in Super Bowl 14 to the Steelers. But that was the first Super Bowl that I've watched. But I still think from Super Bowl 14 to about now, I remember really good bits and parts of all those Super Bowls. And I just can't believe that it's been 45 freaking years now.
Dude, I know. Was it Jack Ham?
Jack Youngblood.
Jack Youngblood, yeah, and he was playing with a broken leg.
85, yeah. Him and his brother Jim both played on that Rams defense.
Yeah. I that was in my book. Now, I don't remember that one, but I remember looking at the pictures like, and then you think about like the Bama connection here, obviously on Cover Crimson, and we want you guys to like and subscribe, but Bama has a quarterback playing in this year's Super Bowl, but this isn't the first time. And I've talked about this many times on the channel. When I was at Alabama doing shows, Bart Starr was my first major interview, right? The two-time Super Bowl champion.
What a guy. I've told this, and you've probably never heard this story, but the first time he ever came on with me, and this is back in the terrestrial radio days, this is probably mid-2000s, maybe 2005 to 2008. I'll never forget, he came in studio, he hung out for an hour, and a week later, I get a handwritten letter from him thanking me for allowing him to come on my ridiculous, measly, mediocre show. And this is one of the all-time legends. I mean, the first Super Bowls 1 and 2, the Super Bowl MVP. So that just shows you, just obviously a legend, but one of the kindest guys I've ever been around.
Yeah, man. I never thought I'd know him, like when I was looking at that Super Bowl book and he's beating the Chiefs and then he's beating the Raiders in the first two Super Bowls. But that Bama quarterback, he played on some crappy Bama teams. And then Super Bowl 3, which changed the course of the Super Bowl. My dad was the biggest Colts fan ever. They weren't supposed to lose. This being from Baltimore, they weren't supposed to lose that game. He and Bubba Smith and Johnny Unitas and all those guys, even though Johnny U didn't play in the game, he was hurt. They were big favorites. And then Broadway Joe, he's like, hey, we're not losing. That's the only Super Bowl the Jets have been in. And he wins the game, and the history of NFL football changed. But
and the guarantee was never the same, because when you are at that point they were 17 to 19 point underdogs against the Colts. That was just one of the since then maybe Super Bowl 36. Tom Brady in New England knocking off the Rams as a 13-point underdog. But that was just a monumental upset. And when he said it, maybe people believed that poolside, you had a young Brent Musburger poolside with Broadway Joe, who actually went on record with that. But, now when people make guarantees, it falls hollow. There's just nothing compared to what Joe Namath was able to do with that guarantee.
Mm-hmm. Well, then there's a guy that you and I both love. And you talk about an impact in the state of Alabama, and I live down here in Fairhope. We still talk about this guy. Every time I go to the floor Bama, I always go by he had his own seat. But I'm talking about Snake Stabler, Kenny Stabler, Raiders quarterback. He's another legend and another Bama guy and another quarterback that played in this game.
Well, what's crazy is you think about, and I guess there was a gap between, Bear Bryant players and what you had with Nick Saban, but it is pretty amazing that your first three Super Bowl MVPs, Super Bowls 1 and 2, again, Bart Starr, and then Super Bowl 3, Joe Namath, but you haven't had another. So in the post 53 Super Bowls, is that right? Yeah. I think that's right. What are we on? No, we're Super Bowl 59. So
6.
55. That you haven't had another Alabama Super Bowl MVP. But you got 2 opportunities today because I guess you consider Jalen Hurts Alabama/Oklahoma. I'll stick to this. If he never would have played for Lincoln Riley, he wouldn't be where he is right now. With all that said, I think both can take credit. So I do think that you've got an opportunity with Jalen Hurts, and you've obviously got an opportunity with Devontae Smith. I mean, much more difficult for a receiver to win this. We know everything's a quarterback's award. But you do have 2 opportunities. Just hard to believe it has been since Joe Namath in Super Bowl III that an Alabama player. I say that. I mean, there's only one a year, but there's so many Alabama players littered throughout the NFL. But I guess you haven't had Alabama quarterbacks. I mean, when you look at quarterbacks right now, Bryce Young fighting to prove that he belongs in the league. You've got Tua. The Dolphins haven't been to a Super Bowl since Dan Marino's second year.
That's crazy to me too.
Yeah, it really is. That's another thing that I look at. Kansas City in their 4th Super Bowl in 5 years, going for the three-peat. And you think about teams like Miami that hasn't been to a Super Bowl in over 40 years. You think about teams like Cleveland and Detroit have never been to a Super Bowl. And year in, year out, Patrick Mahomes continues to get them there. And the crazy thing, Mick, is, again, he's obviously maybe the best we've ever seen play. But when you look right now in the AFC, better quarterback with Josh Allen, your MVP, right. Lamar Jackson, your reigning MVP that a lot of people believe should have got it this year, Joe Burrow, your comeback player of the year. Those 3 quarterbacks were better this year than Patrick Mahomes. So at best, he was the 4th. He had the 4th best season for a quarterback in that conference. And then you look at Jalen Hurts. I mean, how many guys would you have taken going into the postseason in the NFC, just quarterbacks, over Jalen Hurts?
Yeah. I mean, a lot. Good to see you guys in the comment section. Charlie's talking about Ken Stabler. If it's X1, is that 9 or is that 11 in Roman numerals?
X1 is 11.
Okay, so Super Bowl 11, Snake beat the Vikings. He was 12 of 19 passing, 180 yards. That was in 1977.
So in 1977, did they give it to a defensive guy, or was it randomly? Cliff Branch. Hey, just real quick on the NFC side, though, Jared Goff, better quarterback. Matt Stafford, better quarterback. I think Baker Mayfield, better quarterback right now. Sam Darnold had the better year. Jordan Love, the better quarterback. So, I mean, obviously Jaden Daniels, much better quarterback. So Jalen Hurts, probably you would have had him maybe 7th out of 7 quarterbacks in the NFC. You would have had Pat Mahomes 4th out of the 7 quarterbacks. Now, Mahomes a little bit different because he's the greatest to ever do it, but just amazing that Kansas City continues to get here. And you got to give Philadelphia, it's a great roster. Jalen Hurts probably gets more shit than he should. I think he's a better quarterback than people downgrade him to be. But I'm not going to be surprised at all obviously this game is basically a coin flip. We've never had a Pickett Super Bowl in the history of the 59 Super Bowls. It could end up going off. It's down to Kansas City -1. But I'm not going to be surprised at all if Jalen Hurts, Philadelphia, wins this game. He's your guy.
If he wins this game, it's going to be the first time he's won the big game, right? I mean, at Alabama, he didn't win a championship. Won the SEC, but he didn't win the national championship, right? In the NFL, he lost the Super Bowl to these guys a couple years ago. He wasn't bad. I felt like Philadelphia, the last time they played, should have won that game, but they got conservative. They were very aggressive in the first half. They pulled back, and then, it was close, and Kansas City did what Kansas City does, and that's they win at the end. And this is the Andy Reid Bowl again, because Andy Reid coached the Eagles forever, and now he's Kansas City's head coach, and he's going to go down as one of the greatest coaches of all time. And a Ram when he was a kid, the giant Ram.
The massive 13-year-old, which I still don't believe that kid was 13 years old. We pulled the picture this week, and it was, and we pulled it. I think punt, pass, and kick was like 7 to 13-year-old, so he was the oldest. But how old the kid was next to him, I mean, Andy Reid looked like he was a starting offensive lineman at that point in the NFL. Well,
let's start talking about some bets in this game, and you guys in the comment section don't be afraid to ask. But Lance's Lock, you guys can check that out too, lanceslock.com. Let me do this for you right here.
Yeah, and while you're doing that, so we in the AFC, NFC championships, we did have both Kansas City, we had Philadelphia. Philadelphia, relatively a really, really easy winner in that situation. But yeah, jump on board, win with us. So we have side and total today. And traditionally, I have not been good in the Super Bowl. I've told you this, Mick. It's very strange. It's like my kryptonite. But that's just more so on the side. When it comes to the totals, I've got 9 props up and available today. I can't tell you how long it took to go through the props. I mean, literally 1,000+ props on today's Super Bowl. And anywhere from color of Gatorade, national anthem length to, Devontae Smith receptions. So it is fun to jump in and be able to wager on everything on this massive game. But yeah, so we've got 11 total plays up and available coming off a winning day yesterday. We killed it in college hoops, and we will win for you. There is a free play available right now at lanceslock.com. So jump on. We have an all-inclusive Super Bowl package, so it's just $40. $40 gets you all 11 plays today.
All right. Well, you guys take advantage of that now. And now's the time to kind of be thinking about this. MyBookie.ag. Use the promo code next round to double your initial deposit. And then, obviously today's the Super Bowl. So Super Bowl 59. I still can't believe that. All right. I'm going to throw this up. See what you think. This is some prop bets. I mean, it's pretty funny. Some of these bets, I think it goes to show that we just like to bet, so it really doesn't look, the first one is how long the national anthem will be, right?
Dude, I used to, and the older I get, the more I don't mind just not being around people at all. But I used to have pretty massive Super Bowl parties. I think you're going to a Super Bowl party today. I might have a couple of people over, but I'll never forget, man. Like, we would wager on everything. It would go back to the old Bud Bowl, and I was telling this story.
I love the Bud Bowl.
Yeah, but you not legally. You could illegally wager on Bud Bowl, take Bud or Bud Light, and it would play out throughout the game. And we just wanted to have action on absolutely everything. But when I used to have a bunch of people that would come over, that was the one thing. Who's got the timer? Who's timing the national anthem? I mean, everybody had a wager on that. Everybody had the coin toss. I don't know who's singing the national anthem today. I know halftime is obviously Kendrick Lamar, but I don't know who's singing the national anthem. Do you?
No, but I'll tell you this about the national anthem, give you guys some insight here. A minute and 20.5 seconds to me doesn't seem that long. We would bet the national anthem in the press box every baseball
John
game.
Batiste, by the way.
Baseball game. What's that?
John Batiste.
That to me seems awful short, right? These guys, it's like they're going to take up their time. They're going to try to Whitney Houston the damn thing. I just feel like over on this minute and 20.5 seems like a pretty good bet. I mean, does flying over?
does Batiste hold his notes? Like, I'm not a John Batiste guy. I saw him recently in what was a very average movie, I thought, Saturday Night, on the origin of Saturday Night Live, and really, really young Lauren Michaels, and then performances that I thought, the positive part was, whoever played Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd and Billy Crystal, they really had their mannerisms down. But I forgot who played John Batiste, but he was the musical guest, whoever he played for the first Saturday Night Live. But I'm not really familiar with how long he holds these notes. So I'm staying away from the national anthem.
Okay. So you're not going to take that action. Second one is the result of the coin toss. I mean, it's just I'm sure a 50-50, right? I don't even know. I mean, when I do coin tosses, I just yell it in the air. What comes?
Yeah, I normally go tails. This obviously is a 50-50 proposition. But it's a good way to get off to a nice start or a shitty start. That's the worst thing. You're like, my God, we haven't even, total leather. We're not even there. And I'm already down $100. So, but again, like if you want to spray the board, I mean, there are people watching and listening to us right now that probably will have 30, 40, 50 prop bets just to basically have absolutely everything that they can wager on today.
I was at a staff retreat and they played this game with coin flips, and basically the room had to pick heads or tails. You would go to the room and they'd flip the coin and half the room's done, right?
Yep.
And this one guy who
I
won,
saw. Well, I'll let you finish your story, but I've got a great story because it's called Head or Tails.
this one guy won everything the whole week, and he won that. Like, he just had, his luck was gone. And the mistake I made is I should have just found that guy and stood next to him.
Well, so we for years and years we hosted a charity event in Birmingham, the Lord Wedgwood Foundation. And it was really cool. We'd raise monies for defibrillators that they would put in schools, in local schools. And so every year we would MC the live auction, and then there would be a special speaker. And this particular year it was Nick Saban. And we were over at the Birmingham Country Club, BCC. And so this is one of the first times I ever saw the heads or tails played. And so in this ballroom, there's probably 200 people. And so you would buy a ticket and all that money goes to charity. But I think it's a 50-50 split. So whoever the last person is standing gets half the pot. The other half goes to charity. So, it started out with the heads, back and forth. And as you said, immediately half the people are gone. Well, at the very end, there's two people up there. It's Nick Saban and some random woman. But no. Saban ended up winning the heads or tails.
Why do people have that kind of luck?
I don't know.
I mean, how does that even happen? Right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty crazy. It was one of the first times I ever saw that. But yeah, that because it was like 11 or 12 flips of the coin.
Yeah. And he's always winning, no matter what he does. What is Kick of Destiny? I don't even know what that is. Kick of Destiny 3. Do you know?
No.
Okay, let's skip that one. Who's the team that's going to score first? And do you think the team that scores first wins? For some reason, I think Philadelphia is going to score first.
Well, in Philadelphia, in their last 6 postseason or regular games, maybe it's just their last 6 games out, the first score of the game has been a Philadelphia touchdown. I do have the way the first score is going to go down as my prop.
Okay. All right.
Like, whether it's going to be field goal, it's going to be defensive score or safety, or it's going to be touchdown.
Yeah.
And so I do have that available right now.
Check it out. Lance'sLock.com, guys. I just feel like Jalen Hurts is going to, I think he's going to have a pretty good game today. I think Philadelphia is clearly the better team, but Kansas City knows how to win football.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. Like, and that's one of the things, that might actually, hurt, my business a little bit today because, maybe sometimes people know what they want to bet on. So they'll go online, they'll have a subscription to Lance's Lock, and they'll go on hoping that their side is what I selected. Like, there are people right now that just want to bet on Pat Mahomes. They don't want to fade. They don't want to go against Pat Mahomes. And so it would reinforce their pick if I have Kansas City, but if I have Philadelphia, they're gonna be like, oh damn, how do you go against Pat Mahomes? And it really is difficult to go against Pat Mahomes. But I'll tell you this: Philadelphia has yet through 3 playoff games, Mick, to turn the football over.
Right.
And Jalen hasn't been great, but man, he's completing almost 70% of his passes. He hasn't turned the football over in this postseason. Yeah. So if he continues to play like that, and Saquon continues to hit these home runs, like you think you've got him, I think against the Rams, he had like 20 rushes for like 54 yards. And then he had 2 others that he ripped off for like 60 and 78.
Yeah, he's badass.
Yeah. I mean, he really is. But if you can somehow contain 26, I mean, that is your path to victory. I don't know what the path to victory is against Mahomes, because Mahomes just doesn't have bad games.
Right. Yeah. Well, the other thing too is football history, right? I mean, you go back to Terry Bradshaw against Roger Staubach twice, Cowboys and Steelers, and the Steelers won both of the games, right? You got Eli Manning against Tom Brady, one of the few times that Tom Brady lost, but lost twice to Eli and the Giants. Troy Aikman against Jim Kelly twice, Dallas and Buffalo. Dallas won both games. I don't know why when you have these rematches, the same team wins the rematches unless something happens different here.
Well, I mean, look, this is a game Philadelphia should have won 2 years ago.
Right.
A game San Francisco should have won last year. And I think that's the frustrating thing when you get into these situations with Kansas City, is just because the intangibles, their ability to find ways to win. They are 12-0 in one possession games this year. I mean, that's insane. Like,
But they're due to lose one.
they are due to lose one, but do you feel great that it's going to be in Super Bowl 59?
Yeah.
And they're just never out of it. Like, if you roll into the fourth quarter and they're down 14, you still believe they've got every shot to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things. That's obviously, I mean, Captain Obvious here, but Philadelphia, and look, and I do think this will be a one possession game throughout. There is, will somebody ever score 3 consecutive times? Chiefs did that last year in this game. Biggest margin of victory, or biggest lead in the game, will it be over 14.5 points? Typically that's a yes. I didn't play that prop, but right. I do think this is going to be back and forth. I think it's going to be a really tight game. But if Philadelphia does get down, like, I don't think you ever feel like you're out of it with the Chiefs. But if Philadelphia was to get down double digits against Pat Mahomes, you wouldn't feel good about that.
No, done. Who's going to lead at the end of the first half? See, I think the Eagles do. But I could be totally wrong. But I just feel like this is going to. I just got this feeling that the Eagles are going to have a good start to this game. They did last time. They're better this year than they were then. Devontae Smith and Antonio Brown, or not Antonio Brown, but what's Brown's first name?
Hollywood Brown, Marquise Brown.
You're
talking about AJ Brown for Philadelphia.
I thought you were talking AJ Brown. Yeah. All these Browns that catch the ball. And then you got, obviously Barkley and Hurts. I guess the question is, how healthy is the offensive line for Philadelphia? I think that's one of the things that we kind of look at and say, hey, that could cost you. I mean, think about the Falcons. If they don't lose their center, they blow out the Patriots and Tom Brady, and they end up losing the game because they didn't have a center.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I think you saw Landon Dickerson kind of limping around in the NFC Championship game, but you've had 2 weeks, and from all accounts, it sounds like relatively that offensive line is healthy. So, but that could be a factor. We've talked about this flu that has gone through Philadelphia's, locker room, and guys like Jalen Carter were potentially affected by the flu. I've heard it was a little overblown and everything's fine now, but I guess time will tell.
All right. Will Kendrick Lamar play more than 10.5 songs?
Yeah. See, I haven't gone through the history of this. And by the way, my other computer just died. I don't know how in the hell I charged it all night. So I don't know how that happened. But I don't know what the average number of songs Super Bowl halftime performers have done. That's the great thing about the NFL. Typically, your halftime, it legitimately is 12 minutes. That is it. Once you get to these Super Bowl halftimes, I mean, hell, I don't know. What are they, an hour?
Yeah. I'm not. I mean, I don't even know. I'm sure I know his songs, but is Kendrick Lamar? I mean, is he a superstar, or is he just?
Yeah, I mean, he's a. When it comes to the rap game now, I mean, he is one of the obviously top names, but he's also well respected with the critics. I mean, he just walked with a bunch of Grammys and was nominated for 1 million, and yeah, so he's a well respected guy. Obviously, he's got his public feud the last year plus with Drake and.
Oh yeah, I've heard about this. Yeah. So wouldn't it have been something if him and Drake went head to head in this halftime show?
Well, there is a prop. Who the collaboration will be if Kendrick does have a collaboration, and I think you get Drake at 10-1.
Really?
I just don't know if you could pay enough money, because I think that kills their whole beef if he was to come out and perform with him. But I don't know. I mean. And I don't know if that really excites me. I was much more excited, but nervous at the same time when you go back to Super Bowl 56 in LA, when you had Snoop and you had Dre and you had 50. I was excited about that halftime show.
Yeah. You're and I like that one too. What was your favorite halftime show?
Favorite halftime show. I mean, probably that, just because of the fact that the Rams held on and beat the Bengals.
That has nothing to do with the game.
Yeah, but still, it was good. Super Bowl 53, I was actually there in Atlanta, and Big Boy came out. Now, if Andre 3000 would have come out with him, it would have been a lot more exciting. And then Adam Levine, that's when he took his shirt off and I guess made all the girls squeal. That was a terrible halftime show. It was a terrible game. This is a funny story. So you know how YouTube was created, right? Do you know the origin, the backstory?
Oh, no,
Okay, so I forgot Super Bowl number on this, but it was when Carolina played New England in Houston, and I was actually at that game with some friends. And I remember doing the show back when I was in terrestrial radio. I was doing the show with a guy named Scott Griffin, doing the show the next
Oh,
day
yeah.
from the hotel room. And he brought up like this basically the wardrobe malfunction that everybody was talking about. And at that point, Mick, I had not heard about it at all because we had gone to the game. After the game, we had gone to a couple of parties. And it was just something, but before social media, like it just wasn't something that I was aware had gone down. And so he started talking about it on the show, and I didn't know anything about it. Anyway, that's how YouTube was created, because so many people wanted to go back and find that clip of Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson. And so, some of these nerds, and Cupertino or whatever, they decided to put together YouTube, and boy, what an invention for those guys. But that was a halftime show that I think was like a huge collaboration, because was it not? And I could be wrong here. I know it was obviously Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson, but I think Kid Rock was up there. I think Aerosmith might have been sprinkled in. But nothing really jumps out to me. I was at one with Tom Petty. I thought it was overrated. I'll tell you, I was at when Tom Brady beat the Rams, U2 played at halftime. And I'm not a big U2 guy. It was opportunity to not have to wait in line for beers because everybody was watching U2. So I decided to go to the concourse and purchase multiple beers instead of watching U2. Paul McCartney was good. This is very random, in Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah. I think it's Prince. I loved him. I thought it was the best one.
Do you remember who played in that one?
That was Super Bowl XLI, whatever that would be.
It was Peyton Manning's first Super Bowl win. Weird memories. I was at a place called Workplay doing a show. We used to do a split shaft show. And so I was at Workplay doing a show, and then Ryan Brown was at somebody's apartment. They had won this beer promotion we were doing. So, jocks back then threw them a party. And so I remember broadcasting before Indianapolis took on Chicago. And the thing that jumped out about that game were two things, and Prince was one of them. Devin Hester took back the kickoff for the Bears. Yeah. Rex Grossman of the Bears went up 7-0. And then Prince playing halftime in the rain in Miami. Yeah, and I think that probably, if you voted on this, like everybody would say Whitney Houston, that was Super Bowl. It's when Scott Norwood missed the kick in Tampa. So it's when the Giants beat the Buffalo Bills 20-19. Yeah. Everybody would say Whitney Houston, best national anthem performance of all time. And I think most people would agree with you, and they probably would go Prince from that halftime performance.
Yeah. That, to me, that's up there. All right, well, as we kind of wind down here, let's talk about some of the bets that kind of make a little bit, maybe instead of the halftime stuff, but more of the football stuff. First TD score. So you got plus 400 for Barkley, plus 650 for Hurts. You got Kelsey plus 1,000. Man, I guess I'm like with everybody else. I mean, and I saw the odds are the lowest there, but I kind of feel like it's going to be Hurts.
Well, I feel like it'll be Hurts if they get it inside the 3-yard line.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any doubt there. I did not play this prop. I do have Jalen Hurts on a couple of props, though. It's weird. I had this vision. It always comes back to the Rams. You see, I'm wearing the Rams lid right now.
Right.
But, it came down to one play against Philadelphia. If they get in, they win. And I had a weird feeling that I was literally going to play this prop. Tyler Johnson, who's a free agent with the Rams this year. He's like a fifth-year receiver out of Minnesota. I was going to play him to score the first touchdown. And I think he had one touchdown all year, but I just had one of those weird visions. So this is, obviously this thing can go a million different directions. I'll never forget this. I gave out Slade Bolden to score the first touchdown against, maybe it was Ohio State in the national championship.
Yeah.
And I had a buddy that played pretty good money on it. And I don't know if you remember, and I think it was Ohio State, but Bolden catches one on the goal line. They had to review it. And so Bolden didn't get credit for the touchdown, and I forgot who punched it in the very next play. But, I mean, it literally was within inches. And I think Slade Bolden was like 60-1 to score the first touchdown.
God, that would have been nice, man.
So, I mean, to me, the way to do it is, play a couple that are obvious maybe, but play that one long shot. Get you a 50, 60-1, put $25 on it, and, that'll pay for your entire Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, no doubt. Bolden going to the NFL, one of the worst decisions I can remember. He would have had NIL.
Yeah. And man, really, really cool guy. We had opportunities because we did some NIL deals with him. And I remember he was kind of our diary guy for the Alabama-Georgia game in Indianapolis. Was that the last time Alabama played for a national championship? Yeah, I guess it was.
Yeah.
But, he did a lot of things for us. I thought for sure with NIL really kicking into gear that he would come back without knowing that he was going to be drafted. And unfortunately, he didn't.
Yeah, good guy, though. All right. Saquon Barkley to rush for plus 169 yards. I mean, that's crazy, man. I can't even believe they would put that up there.
Well, you say that. I mean, he went over that number against the Rams in the divisional matchup. Look, I don't see it happening. I mean, Kansas City hasn't given up a 100-yard rusher, I think, over the last 20 postseason games. But, this is one of those that, Kellen Moore, and it is going to be interesting now that we find out Kellen Moore is going to take the Saints job. Is this a distraction at all for the offensive coordinator for Philadelphia? But, he is going to be bullish on running the football nonstop. And if Saquon can just grind out 70 or 80 on his own, and then he pops off one or two, you could get to that number. Look, it's far-fetched. That's why you're catching, plus 425 on that. I wouldn't feel comfortable with it at all.
Look at the Gatorade color there at the bottom of your screen. Purple, orange, yellow, green, red, blue, clear, and no Gatorade bath.
I've played this prop too many times, Mick. Yeah, really dumb. I will say this. The last two times Kansas City, and I know way too much about this, the last two times the Chiefs have won the Super Bowl, it has been purple Gatorade. So, really? Yeah, the expectation is if they win again that they are superstitious, it will be purple. So this is one of those things where you don't know for a fact, and this is just a little inside tip, but if you think Kansas City is going to win this game instead of laying the 1 or 1.5, you could get plus 175 if you believe they are superstitious. They will keep the Gatorade purple, which I think that they probably would. There used to be a correlation with like team colors. Like, if the Eagles are going to win this, wouldn't it make sense you go with the original formula? You go with the lime,
yeah,
Eagles background color. But yeah, I do have a feeling if Kansas City wins this game, you will see purple Gatorade dropped on Andy Reid again.
Oh, that's interesting. All right, well, you tell me some bets that you want to talk about on here as we kind of get to the end of the show. And you guys, thank you.
I'll give you one that's going to be a free play. Again, we give a free play out each and every day at lanceslock.com. I'm taking DeAndre Hopkins over 1.5 receptions. Everybody's going to be keyed in. This Philadelphia defense, they're going to be keyed in. Vic Fangio on slowing down 87. So I think guys like Xavier Worthy, who's been getting more and more involved in the game plan, Hollywood Brown that I mentioned, those guys will be involved. But I think DeAndre Hopkins, a veteran for a moment in time when he played for Arizona, when he played for Houston, you can make an argument was the best receiver in the league. Now he gets an opportunity to play in his first Super Bowl, going back to Super Bowl 56 early in the game before he got hurt. Odell Beckham, not a journeyman, but kind of a DeAndre Hopkins-like career, had never been in the Super Bowl, got an early Super Bowl reception. I think DeAndre Hopkins over the 1.5 receptions, really good play today. I say this, it's probably around 3 receptions, but I think you could get this on the first, second drive. So over 1.5 receptions, DeAndre Hopkins really like that.
All right, let's talk about the game. Eagles, to me, clearly more talented, maybe not better coached, though. Then the Chiefs are going for 3 straight. We've never seen this before. The last team to play in 3 straight Super Bowls, LT, was?
The last team to play in 3 straight Super Bowls, I am going to guess was, it was either Dallas or Buffalo.
That would be Buffalo that played in 4 straight and lost, right? And then the last and the Dolphins did it. They won 2 of the 3, remember, but they lost to Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, that shows you how long. I mean, if it's been Buffalo, so you're looking, it's been over 30 years since you've seen this. I
Yeah, it's
mean,
crazy,
you
right?
just and not only playing in 3 consecutive, but the opportunity to win 3 straight, which is
Yeah.
just crazy. Like, and I just wonder if you get, and maybe Alabama fans have felt this, you get a little numb to the success. You're like, it's either championship or it was a terrible year. Even talking to one of my best friends is a Kansas City fan. And so I was with him for a little bit this week and I was talking to him about it. And he was like, yeah, I'm really nervous about this game. And I'm like, why? Like, you've got so many of these damn championships. Like, I
Mhm.
understood the first one, but now that you've got all these, it's like you're playing with house money. But I guess it is a one-off. You never know if you're ever going to get back there. Again, back to my Rams. You remember the greatest show on turf, and
Yeah.
they won Super Bowl 34 in 99. They're a wild card team in 2000, one and done against New Orleans. And then 2001, they lose to Tom Brady, and they don't get back to a Super Bowl until Super Bowl 53 with Jared Goff in 2018. So these windows, they close quickly. I mean, I don't think this will be Kansas City's last one. But again, back to how good those quarterbacks are, from Lamar to Josh Allen to Joe Burrow. You got to go through a gauntlet to get there.
Yeah. It's to me, it's the Chiefs, then their ability to figure out ways to win. So I don't know. I'm going to go with talent today over the ability to win. I just think that the Eagles have a better team, and
And
they're
you
going to
hate Taylor Swift and Travis
Yeah, I'm
Kelce
so
and Pat
tired of that.
Mahomes.
Well, I met Kelsey, had beers with him, hung out with him one night. He's actually a great guy, but this was before he was locked up with Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a lot. Like, I really think it is, you either are a Chiefs fan. Well, there'll be 3 today. Chiefs fan, money on Chiefs, or you
yeah,
absolutely hate the Chiefs. And
yeah,
that's, I
yeah,
mean, there's really not a lot of in between. The craziest thing is, like, Andy Reid, still, Philadelphia Eagles fans love Andy Reid. Like, everybody likes Andy Reid outside of the horrendous State Farm commercials. There's nothing unlikable about Andy Reid. So he's
no,
been able to keep his balance and the perception of great Hall of Fame coach, but a likable Hall of Fame coach. Completely opposite of the last time we had one of these dynastic teams in Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. He was the most hated coach out there, along with Nick Saban. But Andy Reid's just not that guy. And that's pretty impressive that you can win at this level and people still like you.
I'm going Eagles 33-30.
Okay, I'm not going to give my official pickup. You can get it at lanceslock.com. $40. Be the quickest $40. I mean, people are spending $40 on chips and dip today. Be
Yeah,
the
right.
easiest $40. It will pay for everything. 11 plays, side total, 9 props up and available right now. Super Bowl 59. Let's get it.
Swing over to mybookie.ag, guys. Use our promo code next round. They'll double your initial deposit and be a part of Cover Crimson. We'll be back with our Alabama coverage starting tomorrow, like we always do. Clint Lamb, me, and the rest of the crew. So thank you guys for hanging out with us today. It's been a lot of fun. Have a very safe and
Hey, what time's your first cold beer today, Mick?
that's kind of, I don't know. I'm going down to Orange Beach for this party, so it takes about 45 minutes to get there. So I don't know when.
What
It can't
is
get here
the
fast
Uber
enough.
cost? What is the Uber cost from the Foley area to Floribama?
I don't know.
Too much?
It's probably expensive. It's going to be I'll say this, it's going to be a very light Super Bowl for me. I'm taking it easy today. I got to work tomorrow. So
Yeah,
what
me
about
too.
you?
And hey, I'm telling you though, now that we've expanded to 17 weeks or 17 games, and now we're just a week away from a national holiday. My son was asking me about this a couple of days ago. He's like, man, why do we not have the day after the Super Bowl off? And I'm like, look, Trump, we're getting our straws back. This might be something that's in play. I mean, seriously, it only makes sense. You expand it one more week or you move that national holiday up, however you want to do it. We should be off the day after the Super Bowl. It wouldn't matter for you and me because we do this for a living. So we're going to have to be on after the biggest game of the year talking about it. But for the rest of America, do them a favor. Let them off. Let them stay up. Let them drink a little extra. Let them eat more. Let them sleep in tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm with you, man. What about you? Are you going to have a beer today? I know you've
I will at some point. I've really pulled back the reins here in 2025, but had my first glass of wine in like 6 weeks last night.
Really?
Yeah. So, but
Did
I'll
you
have a
lose
couple of
weight?
beers today. What's that?
Did you lose weight?
I've lost a little bit. The problem is, I have gravitated from alcohol. Now the craving is sugar. So like I'm on like 6 straight nights, literally like 2 in the morning of getting up and trying to choose between Honey Nut Cheerios, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and Lucky Charms. But I've had a
Nice.
bowl of cereal in the middle of the night for 6 consecutive nights, which just basically kills everything I was trying to do.
Yeah, no, it does.
Yeah.
All right, guys, Roll Tide. Thanks for hanging out. I need this. I need the steak.